Oh, hello. This episode was brought to you with the support of our backers over at patreon.com/cinemaswirl. If you become a $5 backer, you will get access to every episode of Cinema Swill, a show where Kevin and I review bad movies. Our 19th episode, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, has just been released, and let me tell you, it was extraordinarily fun to review. We release a new episode of Cinema Swill every month exclusively on our Patreon. Oh, and next month we're doing Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones, so you wouldn't want to miss that one. To find out more and to see what exclusive goodies are available, head on over to patreon.com/cinemaswirl. Just before we get into this one, if you haven't seen this film before, there are some particularly distressing scenes which we will be discussing in the episode. There should be a content warning in the description, we just wanted to make you aware. So with that all in mind, let's get swirling.
Cinema Swirl, a casserole of dicks. It's episode number 66, strolling through the pristine suburbia of Hollywood, California, looking at all the immaculate picket fences and questioning nothing but what movies are on the shelves of the houses of the people who live there. It's me, your old pal, Cowboy Kevin, looking at all these films with my OTP, Sam Chaplin. Hello to you, Sam.
Hello to you, Kevin. Listeners, Kevin asked me just before we went on air, as it were. Oh, I've used plate of dicks before, haven't I? So I was glad
be careful,
you know, yeah. Dicks.
Yeah, exactly. We got a few of those in there. Look, I think if anything, that shows the evolution of the podcast.
Yeah.
And the journey that we've all been on. I hear casserole of dicks, right? And then I hear you say plate of dicks, and it's like you ever go like a time hop or something. You go, oh, that's me 7 years ago. Jesus, now.
Yeah.
Not so. You think I've come a long way, you know?
Recognisable but different, and we're at the casserole of dicks stage of our podcast, and that's important.
That is this level of growth that we're at here on Cinema Swirl, and that is why today we're doing a very different type of episode. So there's a lot of different types of episodes of Cinema Swirl, Sam. I think we can both agree on that.
We can, yes.
You know, I mean, sometimes we go into action. There's spooky swirl, obviously. Sometimes it gets, a little bit of a comedy swirl on here. But sometimes we maybe think, let's do something a little bit different. Let's maybe think a little bit outside the box and approach a different type of movie altogether. And if the plays on those types of episodes are anything to go by, it's definitely earned the moniker of bad fucking news. These episodes, they're bad fucking news is what it is, Sam.
They're cult favourites, okay, is what they are. They're, niche interest. And there's nothing wrong with that.
You are aware, and I want to just be very, very clear here, we are doing a David Lynch swirl today, yes?
Yes, we are, yes.
I've heard in Hollywood there's some pretty crackers loon jobs out there, right? But this David Lynch guy, he's as wacky as he is prolific.
Famously zany, right? David Lynch, yeah?
Pretty much, zany is the name of the game. Mysteries are going to be afoot, and I have to address the elephant in the room right now, Sam.
Well, there probably would be an elephant in the room in one of David Lynch's films, wouldn't they? You'd probably just put an elephant in there and not explain it, and everyone would be like, oh, wow, that's so clever.
And you know what? I realised in addressing the elephant in the room,
sure.
I realised, when you're about to address the elephant in the room, you quickly check with the other people in the room their level of knowledge of elephants, just so you're not going to be like, look at that African elephant, and they're like, that's Indian though. And you don't want to be at cross purposes. So what do you know about David Lynch? What have you seen?
All right, so I feel like we have quite a bit to get into here.
Oh boy.
Okay, so I know of David Lynch, and I know a lot of people who really like David Lynch. Now,
yeah. I'm going to press the heart react button there on Skype now that you said that there.
There we go. Oh,
I agree
nice.
with that.
Yes, I know people who like David Lynch. I have watched season 1 of Twin Peaks and thought it was good.
Good.
I have not watched season 2, although I know what happens in season 2, because, and this comes up from time to time, for some sort of assignment for college, I had to analyse various reviews, and I think this was an English assignment.
What, like A-level English or GCSEs?
I think A-level English, perhaps, or it might have been media, but...
Sorry, the equivalent back home in Ireland, that should be your A-levels that you'd be doing, okay?
It just happened to be, like, articles and writing about Twin Peaks when it was out in the 90s. So I remember reading a lot about it and thinking, oh, I might check this thing out.
And I remember thinking my English teacher was a pretty cool dude. Guys, what does Fight Club even mean? Like, yeah.
So I've seen some of Twin Peaks. I've seen David Lynch on a few episodes of Louis, which, I mean, now... but at the time I thought, this guy's kind of got a strange energy. He's kind of funny, he's kind of cool, he's got good hair.
And as someone who doesn't know where that word, what it means to a lot of people, so it can be taken many ways, but he is authentically, genuinely strange. And
yes.
I mean that as a compliment. There's a fascination with people who are strange, and there's nothing more heartbreaking than finding out that someone you think is really fascinating is actually like an absolute dullard, for instance. And he's managed to keep that. So, does that come across, that fascination? Because, I watch him read weather reports and paint meat and stuff like that. I am oddly fascinated with this silly man.
I think I have one of my many issues here, which is that the cult around David Lynch and the strangeness kind of rankles with me a little bit. I feel...
Bill Murray syndrome again?
Yeah.
Is that it?
Bill Murray syndrome? And this has happened to me with... The most famous musical example I can think of is The Smiths.
Okay.
Everyone who I know would be like, "Oh, Sam, you should love The Smiths. You can hear the influence in everything that you like. It's influenced by The Smiths. It's the sort of thing that you would like. You should like it." And I'm like, no, I actually like the diluted, watered down version of the thing that you like. I don't want to just neck straight cordial.
So you're saying you're going for more of a Calvita than a strong Shropshire cheese, is what you're telling me there.
I think that's what I'm telling you, yes. And this was before we knew how much of a piece of shit Morrissey was. But I think the kind of vibe there still stands, that I kind of like David Lynch. I like the idea of David Lynch. But sometimes, right, I see things around Twin Peaks and other David Lynch things, and I feel like I'm slightly left out and I don't quite get it.
Do you get the sense that he comes across like... Not that you owe him stuff, but a lot of fans, and I'm going to try and keep my fucking David Lynch fanboy hat on, he says, sipping from his David Lynch commemorative mug he got at his art exhibition last year in Manchester, before I went to see the excellent screening of Eraserhead, which frankly should have won the vote. But, I mean... Is it stuff like that? The fact that people like me are fascinated by it? Or is it little in-jokes? Or is it because I found I have a lot of friends who are super into Lynch and they love to really engage with the discourse and learn Lynch, learn cinema. And as you can obviously tell from this podcast, I'm nothing if not a scholar of the filmly ways. But is it just straight up pretension? Is that why you don't like him? That folks, it's because it's hard to understand and there's a superiority complex there? Can we boil it down to that?
It feels like it's definitely a me issue in that I watched Twin Peaks and I liked it, but I wasn't super duper invested in it and, obsessed with it. Mm-hmm. And I think when I see that level of joy and obsession, I just feel a bit left out.
It's kind of like you see this light in other people and you just kind of want to snuff it out almost. Is that fair to say, Sam?
I don't want to yuck people's yum, all right? I don't want to, put out those fires, but I would like to be on fire. Kevin, if you could fire walk with me for a second.
Hey, now.
I want to... See, I know bits about it because everyone I fucking know loves David Lynch and I'm just
Here's the thing, Sam. With your fandom of David Lynch, and I think this is something quite specific to you, and I don't know how often it'll ever come across on an episode, but there are certain things where if you see this big fandom, that I feel you actually do end up absorbing a lot of... I feel like you know a lot more about David Lynch than even you would realise, because there's kind of the neighbour peeking over the fence. I don't know if it's an English thing, them over there with their movies and their TV.
I've seen a lot of bits. I know various symbols and signs and things that are Lynch related.
You've had as much of a look as if my dad came into my room and suddenly decided, at the age of 9 that he hated my Street Sharks, and he went through all of the Street Sharks, look at this, look at Big Slam, what, Big Slam, what is this, and Slobster, what is that? And you've seen lots of bits, but you've not necessarily appreciated them in their presented form. Is that it? Have you seen lots of David Lynch memes and things?
I've seen those sorts of things. It's the whole world of people that I know around me are all really into this, and I don't blame them, and I don't hate hate David Lynch, and I don't... Look, I need to make that clear. This is not like I think it's rubbish and everyone else is wrong. I feel like everyone else is right and I'm stupid.
Have I ever, or have you ever recalled me just... And this isn't me, like, fishing for trouble, folks. I've not got my needle out. I'm not fixing for a pop here. All right. Like that, okay?
I'm game for a giggle. I don't know if I'm game for a scrap. But...
I want you to answer this question honestly.
Yeah.
Have I ever made you feel left out in any way with my David Lynch fandom? Because you have seen me probably like at my worst when like because Twin Peaks, I watched that for the first time I was like 15. It blew me away, and then they had a return of it like a couple of years ago, and I was like, oh, my life is complete. And I must have imagined it was like awful, was it?
It wasn't awful, and I have no fault with you, sir.
Oh, you now.
And there's a lot of things that I've been left out of. Obviously, that's the nature of this bloody podcast. But so with Twin Peaks: The Revival, I remember hearing about the discourse. So Twin Peaks came back, everyone very excited. You know, that's great. The thing that you loved, that you really liked, is now coming back. Cool.
Right.
And I saw people talking about it, and there was like, oh, in this episode, a man sweeps a room with a broom for 20 minutes. And I tell you, it was the most beautiful, cinematic, important piece of television I've ever seen. And look, there's more to it, I'm sure. And I never watched it. But it was just like a fucking AV Club articles being like, oh, this scene of a man sweeping uninterrupted for 3 hours was the best thing. Have these people not seen the final part of Tipping Point? Have these people not seen the climb to Mount Midoriya on Ninja Warrior UK? Have they not seen television? Are they not gripped? A man sweeping.
I love, Sam, that you have come fully equipped to this highbrow debate that we know less than an average listenership will listen to take down the cult of David Lynch, armed with your weaponry of falling down TV, a moniker you've given it to several times in private. The most insulting flex ever, falling down.
Look, I'm aware that I'm wrong. That's what I need to make abundantly clear. I'm just not... I'm not in it. I'm not in that world.
Like, correct, Sam, because I just want you to right now, right?
Yeah.
It's important for the Lynch heads at home, right? Okay? You want to make this crystal clear. On the day, like, when those articles going up on the AV Club, talking about the sweeping up, right? And talking about the atomic bombs and all the stuff they were talking about.
Sorry, there's some sweeping up in this scene. I tell you, David Lynch is going to be cleaning up at the award ceremonies because that was the best thing I've ever seen on television, was a man sweeping.
And he can take that to the cleaners. Now, what I was going to ask you, Sam, is that if you could at least put your prejudice aside for a second, put down your Takeshi's Castle pump action shotgun there, okay?
Never.
Put that business end elsewhere, is all I'll say. And can you just admit to me, right to my face, say it to my face, admit that he won the internet for that day, good sir.
He won the internet for that day, good sir.
Thank you. I just think it was all important that we heard that.
Michael Cera was there in a leather jacket, and that was exciting for everyone. And look, it's fine. It's okay. And look, I like surreal things. I like weirdness. I like a quirky character. The woman with the log, I'm all for it. I'm not against it, okay? I'm not anti-Lynch. I think I just feel a little bit lost and like I just haven't quite got on the same page as everyone else.
Yeah, I understand.
I don't want to be cyberbullied, and I feel that's going to happen if I come out with anything.
Look, Sam, I know like we fear nothing more than an intellectual cyberbullying pile-on.
Yeah.
You know, that's the worst. They're going to be coming at you with dense text, and that's nothing to look forward to. But like, you know, I think there's a couple of things here that's important about this discussion. One, I'd like it to be on the record, please. Sure. Anytime I have my needle out and I'm firmly popping at Lost, that on the record now, I can give it as good as I can take it. Yeah? That's what has been proven there now in the last 10 minutes.
Sure.
All right? That is on record now, so no more of that, okay? And secondly, to circle around, if you will, in a sweeping motion, to sweep back to the original point here.
Yeah.
The main distinction when forming an intellectual argument about David Lynch vis-a-vis the Bill Murray scenario and the feelings that creates of like, here's a guy who's got kind of like this big gang around him of these like very aggressive defenders and whatnot, and make you feel a little bit ostracized. And I understand that. And I think it's worth bearing in mind a key difference, which is I like David Lynch a good deal much more, all right, and then Bill Murray, because like Bill Murray could take him or leave him now, like, you know, and I like David Lynch a bit, and I just think like my feelings and that need to be considered. And that's all I just figured, when we're having the discussion.
Right. So in the Bill Murray Lynch scale.
Didn't want it to get ugly, Sam. I thought I would address that from the get-go, as they say.
And what I want to make clear is that I think I should like David Lynch. And also, I think I look like someone who likes David Lynch.
Oh, yeah. No, you have the look about you. I mean, like, if I'd seen you at a house party going wild back in the day, before I knew about your limited scope of movies or whatever, I would have been there, can of Tetleys in one hand, finger in the air in the other, coming up to you being like, in football, you should score some goals. And we'd make that connection, but you haven't seen it. And I was wondering, from all the bits you've gleaned, let's just say, from having absorbed some of this from afar, in the bushes or whatever, what are you in line for here? Are you going to see a silly movie? Is it going to be a scary movie? Is it just going to be... Is it going to be complete confusion and madcap stuff? What is it?
I'm anticipating confusion. I'm anticipating not playing by the normal playbook of Hollywood, some kind of surrealist,
some George Lucas shit is what you're saying, right?
Some weird shit going on, okay? I'm not expecting a normal narrative beginning, middle, end structure. Things are going to go strange, I think. Arresting imagery, okay?
Ooh,
curious cinematography, all right?
If you loved Arrested Development, you'll love arresting imagery. It's a much more... No one cries when they're doing interviews about it. It's great.
And if you loved Arrested Development, you'll love when Michael Cera pops up in Twin Peaks The Revival, as did everyone on the AV Club comment section. Look, this is not anti-AV Club or David Lynch. Yeah, I'm expecting it to be weird, and I'm expecting to be confused, and I imagine there's some further analysis I might need to do. Dreamlike, yeah?
How do you think you're going to get on with... if I said to you, I'm going to present you now with a narrative that maybe, as you said, a little bit obtuse or a little bit outside the norm. How confident are you, Sam Chaplin, who I know is an ace at video games like Skate 3 and Tony Hawk's Ride? I just assume it's a transferable skill.
Yeah.
That, you can do it with a thumb, you can do it with a feet. That's what I figured. Given that level of skill and deduction... How would you reckon you're going to do with this? Are you like, I ain't gonna, what's going on, mate? I'm just going to have a top laugh. Or are you like, no, actually, I reckon I'll have a pretty decent stab at this.
I've watched every season of Lost. So I think if there's someone who can do some deduction of visual text, right, it's this guy, okay? If there's someone who can piece together strange imagery and clues and bits and bobs, it's me. I've done the homework. I'm willing to put in the work here. I'm going to watch this, and then I'm going to think, all right? I'm going to have a fucking think about this film.
Because I did mention earlier the elephant in the room, right? And we had kind of discussed here now the knowledge of elephants and whatnot. The elephant in the room in question was, I was very unsure as to actually go about reviewing this. Because here's where I'm at.
It's one of those.
It's one of these ones now, isn't it? Again, fucking bad news, all right? This is in the playlist, fucking bad news, all right, is what it is. But where I'm at is, I've seen this movie a few times.
Yeah.
I love Blue Velvet. I will probably say of all of David Lynch's movies, it's probably highest on the list of, if I was to show someone who kind of wanted to see a bit of David Lynch, and this kind of is the closest, I think, to a Sam's hand went up there. Present and accounted for, thank you very much. And I figured this is, I think, the best introductory movie because there is a bit of a narrative there. It can be, I think, followed. Okay. But I've got loads of nerd mates, right? And particularly a lot back home in Ireland who fucking eat this morning, noon and night, and they've been on the forums and they've been on the Reddits and they do the deep dives and they're looking at the AV Club comments and rolling their eyes because they've been doing it for years. Years they've been doing it. So I have had secondhand told me some expertise analysis by this, and I'm between the rock and the hard place of, do I go into this kind of going, fuck it, I'll try and remember as best I can, or if I try and actually present you the actual narrative so you know exactly how to do it. But you know what? Seeing as you are, the lost man himself, and this is your lost world, I'm just going to say, you know what, Sam? You can figure it out for yourself.
Okay.
Huh?
Yeah. No. Right, we'll watch the film.
We'll watch the film.
In a few moments, we'll watch the film. Okay, we'll think about it. We'll make our little notes that we do. And what I'll do after we've done talking about it afterwards is I'll reverse the audio of that, and everyone at home will go, oh, very good, very good. And then we can just call it a day there.
Look, it's good to see what's happening here. I've literally put handcuffs on myself. This is the fucking crucible here now is what's happening. But I reckon, Sam, that if we go into this, the full knowledge that I will take us through scene by scene what's just generally happening as usual, but you're there to kind of fill in the dots, because I don't know if you've heard about this DL character, but I've heard on the DL, the down low, about DL David Lynch, that the guy likes to put in a few little tricksy bits of filmmaking and story devices along the way.
He's not going to get much past me, mate. So...
I mean, if you could handle the origin of Jack's tattoos, what the fucking Blue Velvet throw at him? Possibly.
Exactly. I ain't scared of no Lynch. This is going to be absolutely fine. If anything, I'm excited. I'm curious. I've not seen any of his films, so I want to see one.
Well, I've got a fun question for you. Speaking of spooky things, what nearby, if we turned it out upside down, inside out, and pulled it into a mound, would look kind of like a ghost? It's the mailbag.
Welcome to the mailbag. Now, I anticipated in advance that we'd probably spend a bit of time talking about David Lynch, so...
You were very, very right to do so.
I've kept this relatively brief, but we've got some good questions here. The first question comes in from James, who simply writes, what's your favourite insult from a film?
Oh.
I've got an answer for you, and I can try and deliver it.
All right, let's hear what you got. I'm interested. You've absorbed these for the first time in most cases, so,
Kevin, just tell me that the leads are weak.
The leads are weak.
The leads are weak. Fucking leads are weak. You're weak.
And that, of course, is from the Guitar Hero movie, which was released for limited backers on, was it Patreon? I can't. Yeah, no, it's a good one. That's a very good one, yeah.
It won't plug into my Stratocaster. It's too weak.
So you've seen Glengarry
Glen Ross. Yeah.
Oh, man. I think we've been asked before, favourite movie, and the more I think about it as I mature like a cheese, I really think that's my favourite movie of all time, possibly.
It's one of those ones that you wouldn't think I would have seen, but I have seen it. There's occasionally an outlier in there that proves the rule that I haven't seen any films. Yeah,
exactly.
And that's one of them.
Finding out stuff like that proves that this was not a bad concept, because if we watched, if we did it with Mike alone, we just would have found out, oh, you hate all movies.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have arrived at this conclusion. It would be way worse off.
Another one, listeners, Taxi Driver. I've seen it. I like it. There you go.
And see, that's why I'm happy that I've got Sam. You might think that weakens the podcast. No, it just strengthens the concept, makes us feel good. Look, I'll say it here, right? Out of context, it'll make as much sense. Mike alone wouldn't appreciate a casserole of dicks. I said it.
No, he wouldn't. He'd turn it down and he'd be like, I'll have steak and chips, please.
I think Choir Boy is one that Arnold Schwarzenegger used, and I don't like it in the sense that, that's a top insult.
But in his voice.
You should use it. But when he says it, it's it never has the impact it's meant to have, because every time he says it, someone's you can see her mouth themselves, Choir. What? And I feel like that he used that a lot in his real life as a bodybuilder, and then he tried to use it in the movies as well, and it always came off as fucking hackneyed, and always Arnie was there with the stogie in his mouth going, can't we say Choir Boy in this scene a few more times? Come on, guys, it's good, So, I mean, I'm a big fan of that one.
That's a good one.
It's not necessarily an insulting term, but as a collective, an insult that's very good to put someone in their place. Life does not start and stop at your fucking convenience. Really is great that's the equivalent of an ombudsman for any argument, really. If you say that, it's all right, we're over. We're backing off here now, okay?
There needs to be a film where someone says, I shall be taking this issue to the ombudsman, and that's boom, destroyed, wrecked.
Bum from Rocky as well. Yeah. I've loved that Bum, and also Skid Row
bum.
by extension. As in a bad place. When sometimes I'm around the house. Has this ever happened to you, Sam? Where you've got a place around the house where you put a few things where you're going to maybe take it to the charity shop or sell on eBay, or a few little bits and bobs.
Has that become Skid Row?
well, literally, what happened to us that we thought, we've been doing very good. We've gotten lots of stuff cleared out and ready to go, but bloody shop's been closed down with the pandemic for so long. So I'd walk around and go, you turn the Skid Row. You take all the things you want to get rid of, put my bag in Skid Row, Paulie, And that's, Skid Row is a very good motivating thing, because no one ever wants to stay in Skid Row, you know?
You don't want to be a bum living on Skid Row.
Absolutely not. You want to get that toilet clean, you start calling it Skid Row around the house. People are going to be shining up that porcelain real nice. You'll be eating your fucking dinner off it and your lunch too.
So thank you very much for that question, James. Nick writes in and says, "Hey, Sam and Kevin, doing a superb job as always, lads." Oh, Nick, thank you. Come on, mate. But he has a question about the works of Luc Besson and about Leon the Professional.
Oh, Leon!
That's a fine old question, and I think that's something we can come to later on.
Oh, and it's always worth saying, even if we don't always read them all out, because they would probably make for what could be quite frankly described as admin swirl, for lack of a better term, but we always appreciate when people send us ideas for even bad fucking news style episodes, because it's always good to get different ideas, so we're always happy to find out.
Always appreciative of suggestions. David Lynch swirl was a suggestion recently. We thought,
anime swirl, that was a suggestion as well at one point, so all sorts.
But Nick has a bonus question that I was really drawn to, which was also, as big fans of the footy, which character from recent swirls would make a good football manager? Good football manager.
Okay, now, I kind of feel like it needs to be whoever would look good in a big coat, because that's the most important thing that I can think of. Like, I know that that's a powerful symbol. Like, there was a year when my brother was meant to get some sort of, I think he was meant to get Sabutio or something like that, and that was like his big thing he'd pinned his hopes on. Yeah. And for some reason, he ended up like, Granny, like, Granny will get you a random thing for Christmas, and she just happened to get him Sabutio, and it's like, like, right before Christmas, he's gotten the gift. So they're like, we'll get you a Manchester United surprise, and they just got him the big coat that like Alex Ferguson would wear.
Nice. Yeah,
and on Christmas Day, here was this little boy in this big coat, and the general consensus was, there you are now. And it was it just felt like it was a powerful statement that anyone of any age or size. So let's keep the coat in mind, Sam. Let's keep the coat in mind.
Okay, so with that in mind, Yoda, all right? A calm tactician, okay? That's what you need sometimes on the pitch.
I think that would work really, really well. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. He did say recent episodes.
Okay.
So maybe let's kind of think of something that is slightly on the more recent side, and maybe the most recent 10 episodes or less.
How recent was this? Okay, Stanley Ipkiss. All right. Okay. He'd suit a big coat.
He would, wouldn't he?
Okay. And at halftime, or even, when he's making some substitutions, he can turn himself into a football diagram of the pitch, all right? Or a ball. He can be like, loop it into the net like this, and he would turn into it if he put the mask on.
And do you know what he would do as well? Because so many of the great footballing greats, there's lots of drugs, isn't there? And there's a lot of partying and all that.
Yeah.
And you might think, where they be reaching for that white line of you know what, and then they look over and they see, hang on, the manager's having a whale of a time drug free, and they might all think, you know what, maybe I want the mask, and the hunger and the desire for the mask drives the team to the top of the Premier League.
Exactly.
How about that?
You need that kind of locker room leader, someone who's going to steer the team in the right direction of just being high on life.
I'm going to go for the other end, because we went there with obviously very high energy manager, and I think obviously you've got your high energy manager. You'd think Alex Ferguson, very high energy, throwing shoes at people and all that,
as he did.
And that I won the respect of many classmates in school when I made reference to that, because they're like, he gets it. He gets it, man. He gets it. And I get it, guys. I understood that Alex Ferguson threw a shoe. High energy. I'm going to go for more of a Jose Mourinho, lower energy style, a tactician. You can maybe get into the mind a little bit, disarm them. Sam, I present to you Robert Duvall as Sergeant Prendergast from our recent Falling Down episodes.
There we go. Cool as a fucking cucumber. He can lead a squad.
Where would the ball be? In the palm of his hand, mate. Yeah, and they'd be eating out of it. Eating goals, that is.
So there you go. Thank you very much, Nick, for that question. Now let's close up the mailbag for a second here.
Shunk. Get out of here, you spooky ghost.
Now, Kevin, I like surreal, weird stuff, and there's something I wanted to bring up to you. I know on a fairly recent episode we mentioned Angel Delight.
Yes.
And I think you might have mentioned like garlic Angel Delight or something along those lines.
Sorry I did that, yeah.
But I got some butterscotch Angel Delight to have because it was mentioned in the podcast. The Angel Delight.
Yeah.
And what I did, right, was I made that with some oat milk.
Oh, very nice.
And then after doing it, I just thought, let's just look up whether oat milk actually works with Angel Delight. After I'd done it and put it in the fridge to set, it doesn't work with oat milk. It needs the milk protein from actual cow milk or, animal milk to set. So what I ended up with was a kind of oaty butterscotch soup, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, and then, right, what I did was I put some dark chocolate Crave cereal into that soup and ate that.
Oh, sorry, when you said Crave, I thought you accidentally put some of that weird pet food
not
on
the
there.
pet food.
Okay.
No, like the little kind of like crunchy pillows with the dark chocolate centre into a butterscotch oat milk soup.
Were you unleashing your animal energy just coincidentally? I was just wondering.
Do that every fucking day, mate.
Oh, figured.
As soon as I wake up,
Unleash, you mean?
Yeah. And look, I just wanted to say that kind of lends itself to the idea that I don't play by the rules either. I'm kind of a David Lynch figure. Okay, I thought, wait a minute. Oh, something's gone wrong. Let's make that a feature. Let's try and do something different
now?
here.
It's gone wrong.
And look, if you were to look at it, the kind of soupy butterscotch oat stuff and the Crave, it looked disgusting, but it tasted delicious. I felt like a little boy.
Sam, all right, we're about to watch many things.
Oh, sorry, Kevin. What's that out of the window? Oh, it's the rule book over there. It's all the way out in. It's gone out of the window.
Sam, if you genuinely think this is going to be a comedy of errors of some sort, you are gravely mistaken. It's not going to be that. It's not that. It's many things. It is not that. This is going to be one of the most intentional things you see on this podcast ever, for better or for worse.
No, I'm saying that my approach to food and cereal is the same as David Lynch's approach to filmmaking, Forget what people have told you. Forget the common thing that you see every day. This is something different. This is something unusual. And you think, that's not going to work. That's oat milk and butterscotch. And it's lovely, and it's got Crave in it, and it's crunchy, and you eat it. So I'm really excited for how nice this film is going to taste.
Well, milk proteins notwithstanding, let's go do a cinema swirl. And we're back. Initial gut reaction. Sam. What did you think of Blue Velvet? Come on now.
Okay, let me try and do my initial gut reaction noise.
I am absolutely bated breath. I'm so interested to hear this. Please tell me.
That was the whole thing.
I've never seen as much, just for the listeners at home or wherever you may lay your hat at the moment, hand gestures. There was a lot of that there. That's the first time I've seen that on the initial gut reaction, or the IGR as I like to call it here in HQ.
The cough was part of it. Look, it's it was a lot to take in.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a repulsed, disgusted pile of shit reaction. It's just a kind of,
Yeah. I mean, it's worth bearing in mind, main thing about watching most David Lynch movies.
Yeah.
I've not seen Dune, so I can't say this for all of his works. But the intent very often is to make you feel uncomfortable, or to make you feel bad. And often when you watch a movie that is bad and it makes you feel bad, it's very easy and understandable, and in many, quite right, should I say, that if this movie made me feel bad, therefore it is bad. And that's a reaction I've always seen a lot of. And I also know the reaction of me and most people when they find out they're about to watch a David Lynch movie with someone is to not go, oh, that's the movie that made me feel bad while watching it the first time. It's to go, oh, that's the movie that made me feel bad, but then I started thinking about it, and then my friends talked, and then I sang Blue Velvet in the shower, and we all went out one night, we went, Paps Blue Ribbon, we all had to laugh and then stopped. and then stopped. But and then you thought about watching it again. So sorry, by the way, for completely not preparing you at all for this.
That's okay. That's fine. It was useful for me to go in not really knowing much about this. I mean, I think we didn't really do as much in our pre-swirl of, hey, what do you know about the movie? What's the... I didn't really know anything about this one.
I didn't figure it was much to do, other than asking about Lynch himself, because, I think it is probably one of his more mainstream kind of appealing movies. I'd say Mulholland Drive, people are saying, is probably the most kind of successful in that sense. But I would say, in terms of me, the big challenge of, can you figure it out, huh? There is a narrative here, which is maybe something that I maybe misled you a bit on. I mean, you were able to follow it, I'm assuming, in terms of what actually happened and who did the things and all that.
There is a pretty clear start to finish story. It wasn't completely bizarro world, completely disconnected vignettes and bits and bobs that I'm not have to piece together. There was some of that, and there was the arresting imagery I mentioned before.
They locked you up there, did they, with the old arresting imagery, huh? Throw away the key. David Lynch is judge, jury, and executioner of the arresting imagery, that is.
But it wasn't like a bizarre dream sequence mess where I had no idea what was going on, but if you look far enough into the symbolism, you might be able to piece together something. There was a story. You could take it on a very simple face value and go, okay, here's the start, here's what happened, and here's the end.
You could recap the movie on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
You would, with Inland Empire, which is a David Lynch movie where after I'd seen all the Twin Peaks and, I'd seen Blue Velvet and Lost Highway, I'm like, I've got my David Lynch fucking fan club badge now. And I found out that they're going to be playing Inland Empire in my local cinema, in the Cinema. I indeed, down in Galway. And I went in for 3.5 hours and I came out literally sick. I felt so unwell. And that is basically like being handcuffed, thrown into someone else's nightmares and never escaping the void until 3.5 hours later.
I think that was my big fear going into this, that it would be like that. And it wasn't quite like that at all, really.
What was it hard going, though? Because I was surprised. I hadn't seen this in a year or two. Me and Joe watched it a while ago, and I was like, fucking hell. Maybe it's because I watched it at an odd time of day compared to other times. I wasn't necessarily in late night movie mode. I don't know.
There's bits that are challenging, Kevin, I would say, to put it mildly. Look, I wanted to come back from the break and be like, going to Wembley, goals, goals, goals. But it didn't feel right.
Or we could have also went with a candy-coloured clown called Alex Ferguson. Go to Old Trafford, my friend. I close my eyes.
So, the one thing I want to bring up before we get into recapping the movie, figuring out what I thought of it, what we both thought of it, was that Mark Kermode, friend of the show, brackets enemy of the show,
long-time enemy,
according to Wikipedia, he walked out of this film upon his first viewing and gave it a poor review.
Oh, yeah, I remember hearing about this.
But then later came back to it and revised his view of the film. Basically, what he said was he walked out on it not because it was a bad film, but he walked out because it was a really good film, but he wasn't good enough for it.
Oh, he wasn't ready for Lynch.
Oh, okay, Mark Kermode. I'm starting to think that me and Mark Kermode might be birds of a feather not too far from each other, because I was saying before, I don't quite get it with Lynch. I'm kind of put off, but I know it's a me problem. And me and Mark Kermode, if we could do a podcast, imagine what that would be like.
What is this? Birds of a feather or peas in a pod? Huh? More like. Sorry, you are not crossing that barrier.
No,
there are definite lines that you can't cross in Cinema Swirl. And starting a podcast with our lone sworn enemy, you straight up came at me there with that, didn't you? You didn't fucking temper it with saying, oh, maybe we'll have Simon Mayo on as a guest once. It's straight up flaunting a potential partnership with Kermode.
What's Mayo going to say about this? Nothing. He'll just go, oh yeah, Mark, good point.
He'd fold his arms, lean back in his chair and think, oh, they're watching this live on the BBC, aren't they? You fucking chill.
Okay, for clarity, I'm still very much anti-Mark Kermode. that maybe warmed me up to him a bit, thinking, oh, okay, he kind of was put off and then kind of came back to it and was confused and, has reevaluated his position.
I mean, the first viewing of any David Lynch movie is always, I think, going to have like a strong reaction one way or the other.
Yeah.
Like for me, what originally got me into Twin Peaks was that my brother told me the story when he was like 17 or 18. He was just at like some house party and someone stuck on Fire Walk With Me, the movie, which takes place, it's like a prequel to it. And if you haven't seen the series, it makes fucking no sense. If you have seen the series, it makes somewhat less sense at times. But like he just saw it and he said he was completely bamboozled but transfixed. So it was like this kind of carrot at the end. It's like, look, there's this thing which will maybe make sense if you go and watch it. And you kind of, that for me was always like, wow, there's this great pursuit of knowing in it. But my first time watching Blue Velvet, I remember just being overwhelmed. I thought it was almost, I don't want to say to the level of comedy, but like I wasn't like, Jesus lads. I remember watching this and being like, is this ever going to let its fucking foot off the gas here? Like, I was just like, I was like looking around exasperated a little bit. It was my first viewing of this.
It's full on. It's a full on film. And it has got under my skin in the time since I watched it.
This was a movie that needed a little bit of time to be, left to rest, like so the juices could seep in. We didn't want it all to run out on the podcast when we first came in here. We didn't want to carve open Sam's opinion just like that.
And it's just juice everywhere. There's just juice going,
come on now, we want to retain that moisture.
I tell you what I do like, and this is not to say that I don't like the film, but what I do like is just the look of actual Blue Velvet and imagining the nice texture of it. So we get that. That's our opening kind of background to the credits, isn't it? Just some nice Blue Velvet. It does look nice, and it does look like it feels nice.
Obviously, long-time listeners will know, big fans of textures here on the podcast.
Textures, textiles, materials.
Textured textiles.
Some new material,
Absolutely.
Love all that stuff, yeah.
All that stuff is great. Because I know for some people, they find the crushed velvet particularly a little bit abrasive. It makes the hair on the neck stand up a little bit. Where are you on the velvet scenario?
I'm happy with velvet. I like a bit of velvet, and it feels nice on the hands.
I'll tell you what, I'm an admirer of velvet, but I'm pretty glad I don't have velvet drapes or curtains myself, because I don't want to maintain it.
No.
It seems like that would be a whole thing.
It's a good material to visit. You wouldn't want to live there.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's simply too much drape for the likes of us, is what it is, Sam.
But as a rare treat, you can have a bit of velvet to feel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I decided, because I couldn't quite figure out, as you could no doubt tell from the pre-swirl, but during most of the viewing of this movie, what exact tone or angle or how I was going to recap this.
Yeah.
But I decided I let myself be immature at the little bit when I was still a bit giddy about watching the movie, and I said, there was a man here called Dickerson. Huh?
That's a funny name.
Isn't it now? Oh, come on, stop.
We're kind of introduced to this beautiful, happy, immediately fake-looking and, idealised neighbourhood here. We've got
white picket fences and all that.
White picket fences, red roses, a man on a fire engine waving directly into camera to freak you the fuck out from the start. You're like, I don't like this. I don't like anyone staring right at me.
You know what? I think your natural distrust of overtly nice people and such like that, I think the social anxiety actually really arms you. Because I remember coming in, watch this movie and kind of thinking okay, everyone's happy. This is a nice place. And that's obviously not not what you meant to take away from it.
Yeah. And Kevin, there's a man in his garden and he's watering the lawn and he's got his hose caught on a bush. And I thought, well, this is a jaunty comedy of errors. We are going to have a fun. Oh no, he's having a stroke here and he's fallen onto the floor. And
Sam was right at the moment about to crack the case. He's the water pressure is the symbolic pressure that the others are putting on the camp in season 1, not even realising that there's a faucet of power and pressure behind all of that.
Precisely correct. But hey, we do get some stuff that feels like it has some symbolic, thematic meaning. So this old man, who's Jeffrey's dad, Jeffrey's our main character introduced later, he falls onto the floor. He's had a stroke, and we pan down into the grass. So this nice green grass. Oh, we're going underneath. Oh, there's just bugs under there. Oh, there's just yucky bugs. And they're really loud.
Scuttly.
And you just hear the really loud thing. And go, oh.
Don't you fucking hate it when you go to the cinema and he takes out his big lump of soil with all of them? Would you put them insects away? Jesus Christ, you're going to have indoor fireworks next, are you?
That is a very good David Lynchian image of someone having a popcorn bucket full of bugs in the cinema and just eating it, just munching on them nonchalantly.
And it is symbolic, isn't it, as well, folks? Because you think about it, you think on the surface there, what lies beneath, you go underneath there and you see ants, no big deal, but you think ants, hang on, oh, Woody Allen, that's a bit much now, isn't it? And that's it. There's layers here that he knew, knew. Big DL he was on the down low again.
It's a pretty straightforward, on the surface, everything's happy-go-lucky. Beneath, there is something yucky going on, right? There's not much more to it than that, right?
David Lynch is telling you in life to anticipate a crunchy centre, is what he's saying, which he may think is filling you with a sense of ennui and dread, but for me, that's just like, mate, I anticipate life to be a bit crunchy, you know? That makes you seem like an optimist, if anything, David.
David Crunch, I call him. We're in the town of Lumberton, and I really enjoyed the wood-themed radio broadcast.
Yeah, chopping, lad.
Yeah, that's all right. We've got Carl McLachlan.
Is this your first exposure to Mr. McLachlan? Have you ever seen him in, like, Portlandia? I don't know if that's a show you watch, so you're a comedy man.
I saw quite a bit of Twin Peaks, so that was my first McLachlan exposure. I think he was in Desperate Housewives.
He was. He was in that saucy show. Back when we didn't even know what prestige TV was, we thought if it went on longer than 30 minutes, we had to take our hats off and salute it.
This must be the golden age of television.
What are you talking about? I'm talking Prison Break. I'm talking Heroes. I'm talking Desperate Housewives. Yes, season 6 when it got fucking good, yeah?
Prestige, baby. I don't know that much about McLachlan.
He's great on Instagram. He always cheers me up on Instagram.
Visually, he's both extremely kind of normal looking and also there's something else there, you know?
There's something about... I feel he's one of the few celebs who, even as he's aged, and he's always been a dashing, handsome fellow, and to see him like so young and bright-eyed, like it's weird to see someone who you would know later to be someone in their 30s and 40s who had the look of a youngster about them as an actual youngster. That is like quite shocking to see how fucking new and shiny, kind of fresh out of the package he is here. Like,
I feel like if you went on Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, Creator Skater, and you just left everything blank and you just went okay, you'd kind of get someone who looks a bit like Carl McLachlan. Not dress-wise, but just appearance. Just like a dude.
A bod built for sick shredding is pretty much what he's doing. Like, you know, pop, shove that down your throat. You see what I'm saying? So, like, with him, I liken him to a lot of, like, wrestlers who never became massive, super-duper big megastars, but were kind of, like, known to play a bit of a character. And he's, like, known as being in Twin Peaks and a lot of David Lynch works, and also being in Desperate Housewives. And he leans into that. He'd be like, I do like a cup of coffee, actually. I do like a cup of... look what I've got here. A slice of pie. And it's to him that he leans into it in such an affable way. And I feel like, that's all right. You've aged gracefully. You have completely done that right.
He's a good, central, relatable protagonist type figure, right? Lawful
good as far as I'm concerned.
He's exploring the world. He's visiting his dad in the hospital, the man who fell over in the garden. His dad can't talk. He's doing a big sob. It's just that scene seems to be there just to make you feel like, I mean, that's lots of films do that.
I know, but he does like have this thing where he will show you the kind of mundanity a little bit, where here's just a little bit extra, you know, and it's pursuing that, chasing that dragon is what gives you 18 minutes of sweeping up.
Well,
that's what
I actually found it quite streamlined in some ways, that he's like, hey, there's this whole thing with his dad's in hospital and it's difficult for him, but here's just a really tight moment of just, we're looking at each other, dad can't talk, lots of crying, okay, that's enough, let's show him walking home from the hospital, we've done that bit. But I feel like other films would spend a lot of time with the dad stuff. We don't get that much here.
No, you don't. It's just, you know, that's a thing in the background kind of that is very worrying and upsetting.
Yeah. I
like the casting of young Kyle here, because it's very easy to look back now with all the stuff he's been in and we go, he's the all-American blue chip boy or whatever. But like, if you want to go for that 50s suburbia vibe, like, he literally looks like something off of a cigarette packet or something. Like, seriously.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. That's a much better analogy than my Tony Hawk's Pro Skater credits.
I know you're trying to bring in the youth demo, Sam. It's okay.
Skate 4 when? Soon, apparently. Well, not that soon, but at some point. Skate 5 when, right?
Who knows?
Skate 5 when? Just got to get that on the podcast.
Just got to get that on there.
Yeah.
Look, this podcast is serving a dual purpose of being a podcast and also a signal boost. And I think it's important that we all do our part, okay?
Skate 5. Jeffrey, Carl McLaughlin, finds a severed human ear swarming with ants on the ground on his walk home from the hospital.
And as we all know, ants love ears. It's their favourite.
Ants love ears, and he just kind of instinctively pops it in a bag.
Yeah, very Animal Crossing approach there, just to kind of find a strange thing on the ground with insects, just be like, yoink, that's going right in the pockets there.
I would have loved if he'd have looked up into the camera and just held up the ear like, yay, woo! I got one. What do I have here? It's an ear.
I mean, he's a good boy, isn't he, Sam? Because I'd be exactly the same there. This basically is equivalent of being like, I'm telling, there's an ear here.
I think I'd leave the ear and then call the police to tell them that there was an ear.
Oh, you'd tell on the ear. See, that's the problem. I'd be known there's a bigger culprit at risk. Like, that's a rookie tattletale mistake. You're not a pro.
I don't want to remove the evidence from the scene. You know, I'd say, police, there's an ear here. Here. Come here, there's an ear. Are we clear? There's an ear.
There is an ear. Here.
There's an ear here.
Just to be clear. So, my favourite line of dialogue is when they bring it back to the coroner and he just goes, that's a human ear, all right.
Yeah, look, so the dialogue in this whole film, I think we need to express that this is deliberately kind of not stilted, and it just feels strange.
You will pick actors that are kind of a bit awkward. Like, the close thing I think is like Tim and Eric, when they would do Awesome Show and such, they would always go through the casting books to find people who are just like, they have a strikingly odd look, let's put them in there. Or like, you know, they don't have the typical it factor, but for this purposes of being unsettling, it's perfect.
So the dialogue choices and the way those lines are delivered is not bad, but it's bad adjacent. It's kind of in that same ballpark of not seeming realistic, which is what I think what you're trained to kind of look for in films, is that kind of naturalism of dialogue.
Yeah.
This should be what real people talk like. But that whole kind of, yes, that is a human ear, all right, let's go and look at this thing now. And it feels wrong. It feels like, I don't know, a lot of this is just...
You shouldn't ever have the internal monologue of, Jesus, come on, when people are talking in important plot points. And it does happen. Sorry, by the way, if it comes across like you're making fun of him a lot, it is because I find there's good sport in making fun of your idols. So please don't come at me at Twitter with your rebuttals, please. Thank you.
No rebuttals.
No rebuttals allowed on this episode. We find out that the ear was scissored, which is somehow... Like, I was like, okay with it being an ear. When I found out a scissor removed it, I was like, that's bang out of order. No, come on now.
Kevin, there's so many layers to David Lynch's filmmaking, because we find out that the coroner says, oh, it looks like it was cut off with scissors. And then we cut, so in the editing room, he will have actually cut with scissors the film, and we cut then to the police cutting the do not cross line. So we get 3 cuts there. We get the actual editing cut, we get the cut with the scissors, and we get the shot of scissors cutting something.
Oh, no, and you also missed in the director's extended edition, at the end of that, then it zooms out and you see like the whole like sound stage, and David Lynch has got like an old-timey director's hat on with one of those big megaphones, and he turns around over the shoulder and winks and goes, cut.
Yeah.
Get it? And then he shrugs then. I love how involved Jeffrey gets to be. Like, straight away, it's kind of like, well, thanks for bringing us in here, boy. Here's the fucking case. You know,
that's not how it works.
It reminds me of that South Park episode where they're little, like, cops and then they get drafted in to take down meth labs. He's like, he's roped into this. Is this the future of further cuts to the police service? Is that it, Sam? No.
We'll just get blokes in who are happy to put ears in bags. We'll get them involved as well, because they're eager folks.
My opponent wants to defund the police, whereas my platform is simply to defund the police and replace them with eager young boys.
Yeah.
What is wrong with my proposal, sir? You're copying my platform.
Hashtag big society, all right? That's what we want here.
It's what it is. We're all chipping in every part of society, from Captain Tom Sir Roger Moore himself, all the way down. I don't care if you're a Knight of the Realm and you make the tea. Yeah, we're all gonna pitch in.
Look, Symbolism watch, we get a very scary zoom in on the severed ear, and the audio gets all yucky and loud and echoey because it's an ear, and it's like as we go closer to it, it's like we're hearing through the ear, and then we go into the ear, we're in the inner ear.
I'm really, really glad for this episode that beforehand we discussed that you would take Symbolism watch and I would just take Symbol watch, because I found I had quite a light load today, and I appreciated that. Like, thank you.
Well, just wait until you get to the bit with the jazz band, because there's quite a lot of symbols on that drum kit. So,
damn, that Big Mamba number comes up after the credits as well.
Yeah, Jeffrey, he's gone to the actual detective's house. He's getting allowed to go round to the police detective house and be like, oh, yeah, any more about the ear?
The detective in this viewing really creeped me out, because it's one thing when it's in, the famous five or whatever, and there's trouble down some village or hamlet. But here the guy's like, don't tell anyone. Also, come to my house and have a look at the case file quick. Like, we might have a lead or whatever. I don't know. This guy, he's a little bit much. Everyone's a bit much of this movie.
Yeah. No one at any point in the film has said, keep your ear to the ground. And that's a real disappointment. I've just realised that. That would have been great for the detective to say,
I'm all ears. That one. Or, the ground has ears. Or has an ear.
Yeah. So the relationship between Detective and Jeffrey is kind of strange. It's a bit overly familiar.
He says he's his father later on, because later on he's like, fatherly advice, tap, tap,
Yeah.
We get introduced to a potential main squeeze. It's Sandy, my favourite actor, Laura Dern.
Yes, but Laura Dern here, very young. I think she was like 18 or 19 when this was filmed.
Much like Kyle MacLachlan has somehow secretly accessed the Fountain of Youth, which is perpetually appearing in David Lynch projects. So we got to work on that David Lynch podcast, Sam, so we can get that Fountain of Youth, or at least get a few years back at least.
Yeah, Laura Dern now still looks like kind of Laura Dern. She's kind of the timeless, ageless
She's
being.
An alien is my main running theory right now. That's it. An alien lawyer. That's my theory.
Again, another Lynch film that we are yet to see. Unless that already exists.
Yeah, that needs to happen. Alien lawyer. Make it.
So yeah, these two went to the same school. They kind of know each other. They're talking about this ear case. She's mentioning what she knows, because her dad's the detective, about a local singer who lives in a nearby apartment building. It's something related to her.
Hot leads. Hot leads.
Jeffrey's talking about how he knew a kid who had the biggest tongue in the world, and he does the chicken walk. He's walk.
He's very charming, and that's what I like a lot about this, is that you know, people who look like that fucking stereotypical 50s boy wonder look or whatever, they're there a dime a dozen, but to have that little actual spark of charm, to actually be charming, like, I feel like you could watch this movie with your mum and you show all the horrible bits and she'd be like, oh, horrible, no, but this bit here, the chicken walk, you could turn and go, now, and she'd, oh, he is nice.
He does a very good chicken walk, doesn't he?
He is charming. Yeah. He is.
Oh, Kevin, symbolism watch. Okay, we talk about how later on, right, the robin's coming, we'll get to that later, but he's doing the chicken walk and being nice, and he's a kind of bird, isn't he? A chicken is a bird.
Yeah.
And so he's kind of that role of the nice thing that makes everything light later on, okay? He's a bird.
I made the mistake, though, of thinking that
he's like a bird, he does a little walk. I don't know what his deal is. She don't know what his deal is, but he seems like a nice guy.
I thought, I grabbed the wrong end of the stick here the first time as well. I thought that Laura Dern was just like a burglary enthusiast, and she was like casing the joint the whole time. She's like, Robin's coming, mate, yeah? You know, fucking massive Robin's coming, you know? Gonna rob everything here. Pretty much. Burgle as well.
Look, there's different interpretations, so maybe, you know, that's valid too.
It is. As we know from the rules, as long as it made us think and we interpreted it, it is correct.
So these two, right, well, Jeffrey particularly, is really an eager beaver here to launch into investigating. And maybe because he's trying to impress his fake detective dad, he wants to get involved in the case and solve things and figure stuff out. He's really into this mystery. He's already wanting to sneak into the apartment of this local singer.
Oh yeah, he's straight up.
Yeah.
He's going like to advance stuff straight away. He's got the scent in his mind that he could become the next. He's working towards an Agatha Christie deal is, I'm sure, what he's reckoned for. A young, handsome detective like that, you know, solving crimes.
Yeah.
I mean, he's no Poirot, mind, but he could be.
He's got overalls to pretend to be a bug spray man. He's got Sandy coming in to knock on the door to pretend to be a witness. This is all like a GTA 5 online heist mission, the amount of moving parts here.
Yeah, and also as well, the runtime, 2 hours of this movie, is roughly equivalent to the load time to actually play one of those as well. So it's very much at home here. I think that children and the youth and anyone who's listening who has that, who could signal boost this as well. I'm sorry, there's a lot of calls to action today in the pod with the skate and now this as well. But like peer pressure to sleuth with someone is very real. I don't think that that's talked about enough. Don't feel like because all of your friends are setting up detective agencies and they're hanging around with weird dogs and stuff like that. Like, what's that? It's a fucking mystery machine. Smoke crack with us, bro. No, don't fucking do that. Yeah, you don't have to sleuth.
You don't have to sleuth.
You can crime. You could crime.
Yeah, you could be a criminal.
How about that? You could be a super criminal. How about that, huh?
Anything that keeps these kids off the streets, maybe they could do some crime and that would be all right. Now, again, symbolism watch. I realised I was paying too close attention to little details. I was like, oh, the number on the door is 710. And I've been preconditioned by Lost to look into numbers and be like, oh, that could be the numbers from Lost. But it's just a number of an apartment. I don't think it means anything.
No, I think what it meant is that 710 split because this whole plan, gutter ball.
As you said that, and I know you were joking, I was like, maybe. Maybe it is that.
That's
maybe
honestly, I think I think I have a really good idea. I think there's infinite podcast ground in just constantly reinterpreting David Lynch over and over again wrong. And I think we could that's a turnkey mechanism right there. That's just like a well, like you could just keep drawing water from that forever, right?
Take a different meaning from it each episode and just try
and
piece together your theory. Yeah.
If you make the same symbolic analogy twice, you get buzzed and you have to go off. You get replaced by a new co-host.
It's a new game show.
Yeah.
The Snapchat generation.
And David Lynch would love it best of all as well.
He would love it. So, hey, he gets into the apartment. He's actually in there. And so the idea was that Sandy would knock on the door, pretend to be a Jehovah's Witness. And so he's there spraying the apartment. And there's a knock at the door, but it's not Sandy. It's a man in a yellow jacket.
A man in a yellow jacket.
In a yellow jacket.
We are immediately known that something's going wrong. This is like a moment where there's several moments like this that happen constantly, but there's a notable kind of vibe shift where it goes from let's do a thing to don't do things ever. Doing things is a stupid fucking idea. Bad things happen. Men in yellow blazers show up.
Well, his plan was to jimmy a window, but he didn't have time to jimmy the window because he was too distracted by the man in the yellow jacket. Now, the yellow jacket, it does kind of put me off, and you think, oh, this guy's a bit of a character, he's weird, something's going on. But what I think might have happened, because I've been doing this recently, is if you look on any online clothing store and you go into the sale and you sort price low to high, you tend to get the colourways and the variations that have not sold well at a reduced rate.
That's true.
So I think maybe on ASOS or something he saw that jacket and thought, no, I could pull that off. The models look great wearing that colour. I think I could do it. And then he's stuck with that jacket now in that yellow colour.
So did you manage to get it returned yet then, Sam, or...?
It doesn't matter.
Fuck it.
I think it actually adds to the symbolism of me as a person because he's got a yellow jacket like a wasp.
Hang on. Oh, I was going to say like a yellow jacket.
Like a yellow jacket.
I know you don't get to do that. I literally have a zoology. Come on. I did a thesis about warning coloration. This was my time to shine.
Oh, what? It's a warning. It's a warning by him. Warning yellow.
Oh, what's that? Do you want to hear the insights and thoughts of one of the 4 celebrated authors of one of the seminal papers that came out in the first quarter of 2011 about malaria, mimicry, and mutualism?
No.
Is that? Well, you're not going to get it now. I'm going to put it behind a paywall. How about that?
Good. All right, I'm sorry. But hey,
I hope that Skate 5 doesn't come out, and I hope that they take all the copies of Skate 3 away as well. They put them in a big box somewhere.
There was no need for that. We're all having fun here, but there was simply no need. All I was saying was, look, like a wasp, and wasps are bugs, okay, and you had to go and say something like that.
All right, well, okay, we could go with another one then. How about this?
Yeah, sure.
No one likes too much mustard. Am I right? Huh?
Yeah, and of course, Jeffrey, he was hoping to have mustered up the courage to jimmy that window, but he was distracted by the mustard jacket, right? This is what David Lynch must have intended.
I know.
Mustard have intended.
The whole time as well, during the scene, he's hid in the closet. Like, it's the whole thrill of it. Like, he's there, tiny little peak of light, you can barely see him. Like he's down there, mining, like a coalman or something like that. It's a really tense scene, and it really kind of, captures the spirit, I think, of what DL was going for. But like after this is successful, he manages to sneak out. He's like, he's got the rush, like if you do a good stand-up gig and you come out and go do more
something.
Like, have you ever wanted to do stand-up more in your life than right after doing a good stand-up set? Probably not.
No, and that is arguably part of the problem.
That exactly, yeah. And it's the same problem here. He comes out, he's sort of a bit of sleuthing. He's not paying attention to the fact that a few of his friends, bracket Sandy, were in the audience there helping him out a bit, and that the guy in the yellow jacket really wasn't laughing at any of the lines, but you were just confident. You're going back in too soon. You need to debrief.
I've been Jeffrey, I've snaffled some keys, good night. And he goes off the stage and he feels like $1 million, and that's his downfall.
And he thinks he's collabing with Sandy, but instead he just sits there and reams off all these ideas, and she's just a bit overwhelmed and doesn't really feel she can actually say anything in the dynamic. It's not good.
Sandy says she goofed this one up. She goofed it up. She didn't goof it up. It was fine. The problem was the yellow jacket man came before she could do her Jehovah's Witness thing.
I'll tell you what is a goof, though, is hanging around a stone cold fox like young Kyle MacLachlan when you already have a boyf.
Yeah, Mike, I think. Is his name Mike? Oh, Mike.
You want to hang out with old Mike, or do you want to swing around with this cool cat, Jeffrey, sipping Heineken like some sort of adult badass?
Look, I love the Heineken stuff. I like Heineken. You like Heineken? Heineken. Heineken, Heineken, Heineken. It sets up for something later. And I thought it was like, oh, that's weird. I can guarantee it's not product placement, but it feels like it's making fun of that kind of thing, right?
Oh, yeah, right. It's just like banal conversations. The fact that they're comparing Heineken and Budweiser, and as we all know, there are so many fabulously similar beers out there in the world, and they all taste of certain things.
That kind of nice town, oh, I like the beer that I like, and I drive my nice car, and I like chopping wood and stuff. How are you doing? That kind of dialogue, and it's nice.
We get to see the Blue Lady, Dorothy Valance, and immediately Jeffrey is enraptured by the performance. She sings Blue Velvet, the special song. She's wearing a blue velvety dress, in front of a blue velvety zone and all that. And I know this guy is a Heineken man, or so he proclaims, but I thought that he was sipping gin and juice because Snoop Dogg over here only wants to go off and have another look around at things. How have we not got snooping through the keyhole yet for BBC Three or what? I mean, come on, guys.
They sneak away out of the nightclub after watching the performance to go and case the joint, sneak into the apartment. Sandy says, I don't know if you're a detective or a pervert. And Jeffrey says, that's for me to know and you to find out, which sounds charming, isn't?
I'm a detective with the pervert division, ma'am. That's simply what I do,
In answer to your question, Sandy, both. So,
like, for your protagonist, you very rarely know what's actually kind of going on and all that. I think it's funny because it just kind of captures the male wandering eye so easy. Like, he's doing the whole like kind of milkshakes and aw shucks, cute nice boy with Sandy, and then just like, here's this sexy older lady, and he's immediately fucking like, you can tell straight away he is going to have sex with her one way or the other. It's going to happen.
It's the surface stuff and it's the idealized stuff, and then it's the kind of more seedy underneath things. That we've got that contrast in most things.
Sandy is the lawn, and Dorothy is bugs. You know? Yeah. Right. I think.
Yeah.
So Dorothy gets a call, and it's Frank. Frank's on the other line, and it's kind of distressing, just immediately, like, the perils of voyeurism. You could find out that people have horrible lives that you're snooping on, and he's thinking he's going to, like, perv on her or whatever, and she's, like, someone's kidnapped, it seems, and it's fucking really distressing, and she's, like, scared of the person on the phone, and then she's gotten a knife, and she's really tense.
Yeah, so... Look, the whole thing of him getting back into the apartment, sneaking around, having a little look, doing some investigating. He has a big piss because of the Heineken, and he can't hear the car honk that Sandy does to warn him. That's funny. I was like, oh, this is still kind of fun. This is like there's some japery here. He's having to hide in the closet. She's come back, she's undressing, and he's looking, and it's pervy. But that phone call, then it's just... Oh no.
Were you worried about the person on the phone? Did you know the Hopper Man was showing up in this movie?
No. I didn't know about the Hop Man. Of course, grasshoppers are a type of bug, and bugs are bad. And Dennis
if you remember, Dennis Hopper voiced Hopper the Grasshopper in A Bug's Life, which was in direct competition too
with ants. And there were ants at the start, and it's all ties back. So yeah, it was a confusing phone call. It was distressing, and Jeffrey's having to be there, kind of still perving, but also being concerned about what's going on. As the audience, we're in the same kind of boat. Really, we're kind of just looking, observing, being like, "What? Oh, what is happening here? There is something afoot."
Yeah, when she gets the knife out and she finds him, and we get probably like one of the most uncomfortable exchanges we've ever seen here. He's slowly undressed. She says, "What do you want?" And he's like, "I don't know." And then she says, "I'll kill you. Do you like that?" And he kind of does. And then the most distressing thing of all is you get to see him that he's just wearing his socks. And it's like really fucking Jesus Christ. It's awful. Really awful.
Yeah. So this bit is kind of a hard watch. So she finds him spying on her, and is obviously very upset and annoyed and has a knife pointed at him. But also it then becomes a kind of flirtatious thing, and she's, being sexual towards him at knife point.
Yeah.
And it's not really sure who wants what or what's going on, and it feels very uncomfortable. It's like, oh, well, thankfully this is going to be the most uncomfortable thing I see during this scene.
Oh, no.
Oh, phew. This is the bad bit now that I've watched. And it was difficult. It was difficult, but we got through it, and everything is going to be smooth sailing from here on out. And that's what I thought.
Ding dong, Frank's here. You shit, where's my bourbon? Now, Super Mario Bros. Over in Patreon did not prepare us for Dennis Hopper as Frank, No. No way, man.
Look, let's go in with some positives. How refreshing to have a character who is unquestionably just fucking evil and weird.
Yeah.
No darkness and light here. He's just fucking awful.
But
right?
you're being thrown around all over the place, because it's like, here's someone who's you see as a victim of something really horrible that's happening to them. You kind of think everything you know about this Kyle MacLachlan character, Jeffrey's going to come out and it'll be all nice and all that. It comes out, and then they have this really role reversal. She's got this fucking power kind of killing weird thing going on. And then you're like, oh, this is really confusing. I don't know what to think. And then you come in with this guy who's fucking swinging his dick around going, I'll tell you exactly what to fucking think. I'm the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
And it's even though it is kind of reassuring, but also at the same time really confusing and upsetting.
The dynamics here, you're right, they do go all over the fucking place in a short space of time, and that in itself is disconcerting and discombobulating. So Dennis Hopper here, I mean, this is a scene of aggressive sexual assault here, and it's horrible. In terms of symbolism, we have Dennis Hopper breathing through a kind of oxygen mask, and he looks a bit like a bug with the mask on. He looks bug-like. It makes him look super scary. I don't know what's in...
The grasshoppers eat the food, and the ants get the food.
I don't know what's supposed to be in the mask, but it's...
I'll tell you what it is. It's nitrous, mate, because it's rocket fuel, yeah? He lets out a big fucking blue jet of horrifying energy. I mean, there's a few observations here, okay?
Yeah.
Let me get my puerile observation out of the way. Over in Ireland about Frank, we'd say, he's great gas, so he is. We wouldn't, though, because he's horrible. Second, I can't think of something you begin to say that could be perceived in a sexy way that could be then followed up with something less sexy than... Mommy, baby wants to fuck. The only thing I think of is daddy, and then I'm your son or something you look him right in the goddamn eyes.
There's some strange Oedipus Freudian stuff going on here in this scene. It's all very horrible. It's scary. It's gross and sad.
She
and
looks
weird.
at him at any point. He assaults her, viciously strikes her. He is using scissors to cut off parts of her dress, and I can't think of less sexual potential in office stationery than that of the scissors. monsters. It is not something that should be ever there. And let me tell you as well, this guy definitely, at least in part, inspired Ralph Cifaretto from The Sopranos with the kind of really weird, like, the gun's not loaded half the time he's using it. Like,
lots of yelling and strange noises from Frank here. Look, if you want to introduce a character as unquestionably a fucking piece of shit straight away the first time you see him, I mean, here you go. You know,
actually, no, Sam, I want to see the thought piece Facebook comment that actually recontextualizes this with Frank as the misunderstood, oppressed protagonist of the movie who does what he does because of the actions of the horrible world around him.
Let's delete that comment and never look at it ever again. Yeah, difficult stuff. Really, it's a key part of the movie and it makes you feel very uncomfortable. And obviously that's all deliberate and that's part of it. And yeah.
It's very weird when you, like myself, you probably watch a lot of things that have been on the telly that you feel kind of somewhat obligated to watch, like Game of Thrones and things like that. And I will say, it does always shock the senses when you watch something from like nearly, Jesus, what, it's over 30 or more years ago now this movie came out, where they're like, this is like not sexy, this is like bad, it's scary, it's horrible. You know, there's no shades of grey here, as can often be the case in a lot of apparently golden era television.
I mean, this was the point of contention in any of the controversy around this film, and people walking out, such as Mark Kermode, other reviewers at the time, would argue about whether this was all okay or, you know, part of an artistic vision from the director or just something that's kind of going out of his way to be controversial or upsetting or difficult or even humiliating for the people involved.
I feel like if my family's life was kind of just slightly retconned a little bit to fit with an ever-changing timeline, a la The Simpsons, and we could recontextualize my parents' first date as taking place maybe around 10 years later in the 80s, I think a funny, terrible first date movie instead of Alien would be to go see Blue Velvet. Like
the worst first date movie. Oh,
the worst. Put down that Cowboy Bebop DVD. Put down the David Lynch collection. If there's going to be a time to do it, it's not now or any time when you're at the showing each other DVDs stage of your relationship.
No.
Later on.
Frank's gone. Jeffrey comes out of the closet and tries to comfort Dorothy here. She's calling him Don, which is her husband's name, telling him that she's scared. Again, dynamics are changing a lot here. She's saying,
begging him for help and such. Yeah, it's fucking, oh my God, it's horrifying.
But then asking for him to hit her, and it's very, there's a lot going on here, and you could go into this in depth and try and deep dive into this and figure it out. I don't know if that's necessarily our place to
No, it's
do
not.
That.
Bad things happen, and I think other than providing you with several more tones of displeasure to fill your ears with, but I think if we go into any more detail about these parts, we may become into the ASMR genre, and I'm not as confident about beating those podcasts as I am about Trump and Kermode.
Yeah. Exactly. But next, we get what I think is the most David Lynchy looking sequence in this nightmare sequence with some candles and flame and a stretched out blurry face of Frank saying Jeffrey.
Oh, I watched this with captions as I always do, and just the word Jeffrey just came up. That ain't doing it justice there now, folks. I mean, come on.
And Jeffrey wakes up and is just like, man, oh man. And I'm like, that's such a, you know, nice cigarette packet man description of what happened in that fucking nightmare that he's been through.
Falls apart quickly when he's talking to Sandy. It's like, hey, Sandy, can you talk? He's like, oh, not really right now, but what was the last night like? He's like, yeah, it went okay.
Did it? Did it go okay? Was that okay?
He explains the ears likely belonging to Dorothy's husband and that there's bad men and it's dangerous and they can't tell the police. And we get the first of these kind of many, like, real just... I don't know, this is the moment where you realise he's definitely in over his head because he just starts crying and he's like, why are there people like Frank in the world? Why is there so much, like, hate and discomfort in the world? And it's like, you are not going to enjoy what happens next.
You are not going to enjoy your experience in this film. And Sandy then gets to do her explanation of the dream about how the world was covered in darkness, and then some robins came, and the robins represented love and light, so there is trouble till the robins come.
How about that?
Eh? Right?
She's basically saying, sure, Christmas soon now. And if you're listening to this at home now, and it's getting a little bit tougher and like that's happening,
Nearly Christmas.
it'll be Christmas.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm not even going to fucking talk down to you like an idiot and be like, I wish it could be Christmas every day, because I don't. But it will be Christmas. One day, someday.
And the trouble will be there, but until the robins come at Christmas.
So yeah, God, if you're looking at January, that sucks, man. I'm sorry, dude. Jeez, guys. That's not good. And we got real nice back and forth here. This is how the courting is done by the book. Your niece. And right back at him. Oh, give him a bit of that. There you go. Now, I like the word niece, and apparently something that's happened to me in lockdown. I need your help with this, Sam, because you kind of be the arbiter of good taste in this instance.
Thank you.
But it's been alleged around the house that I've begun to sound like a young boy from the 50s, a la Jeffrey here in this movie, because I've begun to describe things as being neat, and on certain occasions I will go one further and describe them as being, and I don't judge it, but Neato Skeeto. And I think that's...
I like Neato Skeeto.
I like Neato Skeeto. It's fun to say. Skeeto. And sometimes, you know, I might get like something fun will happen or something unexpected. And I, maybe like a little bit like Jeffrey, I would say wowzers.
Yeah.
But recently I've taken to saying wowzers trousers.
Wowzers trousers, Neato Skeeto.
And add that in with Yeppers Peppers, which is still in there. I've basically been faced with a Sophie's choice here. A three-way Sophie. One of them's got to go, Sam, is basically where we're at now here. I don't know if I can go on saying Neo Skeeto, Yeppers Peppers, and Wowzers Trousers and maintain the dignity of my home life.
I think keep the one with trousers in there.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? Yeah.
I always like a trouser mention.
It's on brand as well, isn't it? Like, yeah.
As a man who wears trousers.
Exactly,
Other than that, you're on your own.
You know what? Maybe I have to drop peppers because my parents hate peppers. So
do they?
They do. And as a result, the first time I ate and enjoyed a pepper, I was nearly 25 years old. Like an Egypt, and I eat them every week now.
Like a red pepper or a green
red
pepper, or yellow pepper.
Bell
like pepper.
peppers, sweet peppers, red hot chili peppers. My mum wouldn't even let me listen to them. She was like, roller coaster of no, get that off the radio.
You hadn't had any spicy peppers?
Oh no, I mean I had chili peppers, yeah. But those are okay apparently because they're spicy.
But the actual like big old peppers. The traffic light peppers.
Sam, ask me if I've got any peppers in my house right now.
Have you got any peppers in your house right now?
Yeppers Fuck it. Never mind. Sorry, damn it. Right. Another time.
Jeffrey's going back to Dorothy's apartment. Dorothy says she looked for him in the closet and that she likes him and they like each other. And then Jeffrey goes to the nightclub to watch Dorothy sing her song, but Frank's there watching her sing the song. He's tearing up at the song. Fucking hell. It's all yucky. And then we're back again with Jeffrey in a diner with Sandy being like, oh, shucks, I'm still doing some of my investigations. It's going well.
He's quite kitted out now, isn't he? Because he's doing some tailing of Frank and all that. He's even going on stakeouts now. He had a kind of a special apparatus so he didn't look like he was noticeably taking pictures as well. Very good.
A little cord that he could pull to take a picture.
And there was a moment where I was like, good, so they won't look into the car and see you like going pitchy with a camera, but they'll see you with two ropes going
much less conspicuous.
Yeah, like you've been selected as a character in Street Fighter 4 or something.
So he's explaining what he's seen is that he tailed Frank and saw that the yellow man has been going into Frank's building. They've been climbing up a ladder, looking off into the distance with a well-dressed man, this mysterious well-dressed man, and then in the distance was a drug murder or something, and he's like, I'm involved in a mystery. I'm in the middle of a mystery, and that's very enticing for him. He likes mysteries enough that this is important.
He says he's in the middle of a mystery and it's all secret. You know, that's the best type of mystery. A secret mystery?
Secret mystery.
I like that. And he also tells Sandy again that he likes her, which led me to the conclusion that there's very much a LinkedIn versus private Twitter dynamic going on here with Jeffrey between Dorothy and Sandy.
Yeah, sharp contrast between milkshakes and being like, oh, gee, I'm going and investigating the crime, to what he's doing back at that apartment with Dorothy and their relationship.
Yeah, I mean, you're going essentially between a crude language that's mostly comprised of homemade gifs and emoji to a language that's like, wow, conference really look great, what a buffet. Can't wait to catch you out there next year.
Lovely spread.
That wasn't all for you, I'm hoping.
So he's back again at Dorothy's apartment. They're having a sexual relationship, and we get the kind of flames and the scary noises from the dream sequence as Jeffrey is coaxed / encouraged into being violent in that sexual scenario.
Yeah, this is it's a definite a slippery situation in many regards here, because she's just blatant as literally saying, hit me, and that's like fucking hell. It's so,
yeah.
And like, it's a thing from this point on, like he doesn't even realize this is tearing him up, that he feels that he's in this mystery and he's just like he's the protagonist and all that, yet he is doing things now that, all I'm saying is, right, if you and your special someone, and as they say in the most respectful way possible, you're making whoopee, and during that whoopee, animal noises and fire happen, you may need to have a debrief afterwards and talk about how the whoopee could make whoopee for both of you. You see what I'm saying?
You don't want Flaming Whoopee, which I think was a Paul McCartney album.
Flamin' Whoopee was a Wings album, and you know it, Sam. Come on. But yeah, the animal noises, definitely. Scuttling as well, anything like that. You don't know. That's bad.
No. Those two, Dorothy and Jeffrey, they have a close relationship, friendship. They seem happy with each other afterwards. It's quite dark at times.
And like, all it does is they present you with this and your mind reels away at like, why does she want him to do this? And why is it this way? And is he doing the right thing? Or is she doing the right thing? Or what? It's literally a fucking throwing you a Rubik's Cube. It's like a Rubik's Cube in that you're like, that sounds horrible. I don't want to solve that. But it's on the counter now and it's not leaving the counter for the next week. You will be thinking about this, Sam.
But you know who's actually come to the rescue to take that Rubik's Cube away from us for a few minutes? Frank's here. Yay! He sees Jeffrey coming out of the apartment. Oh, fucking hell. Frank's seen him and he's got his ragtag bunch of friends.
Yeah, aka the worst men ever. Let's all go out and get absolutely cunted, etc. These are some bad men and it's a bad time. Would you give me one of them Pabst Blue Ribbons there, Michael, would you? Huh? Actually, you know what? Give us a second one as well. I'll have it ready. You know what? No, push it in the fridge for me. I'll be back in a moment. And that's what she says.
Basically, that's what he says. Heineken, fuck that shit. Pabst Blue Ribbon. Yeah, come on. He's very, very aggressive.
It's great. It's like watching people like battling with all like normal type Pokemon. It's like, are you serious? You kidding me? Clefairy, get a load of Chansey, get him Wigglytuff. Like, you see, you all right over here? I got my Hop type Pokemon. I'm way different.
And they're in this weird apartment / lair / fucking David Lynch place.
No, I'll tell you what it is. It's what I suspected was above that Chinese and Monk's Road in Lincoln all those years.
That is such a niche reference that's only for me, and I love it. And
yeah,
it's
but
accurate.
no, you might think, oh, that's very niche and it's only for you. But everyone who's in a provincial town in the UK or in Ireland think there's probably somewhere where there's a restaurant which is a little bit not busy enough where they actually do suspiciously good food. What actually clocked it for me was that the fourth time I got the chips from there thinking, I feel like I'm the only man in Lincoln eating these chips. What's going on? Why are they so good? Something else is going on. And there was this.
In the flat above, there's this kind of shit.
I'm
in a horrible vibe. There's a guy called Ben who's very suave.
He's suave, man. God damn.
You're such a suave.
You're so
fucker.
fucking suave.
Fucking suave. Fuck. Frank likes saying fuck and fucker and fucking and fuckhead.
So a two-part question here now. So firstly, have you ever been to a party like this where there's one person who everyone is like covertly through like hive mind just desperately trying to keep happy and make sure it's okay? Second part to that question, has a person like that, like a really aggressive, horrible person in a situation, taken a bit of a shine into you like he does here with Suave? It's like, I love this guy, I'm gonna fucking kill him.
I have not had those experiences. The worst thing that has happened to me at a house party was that everyone decided that everyone would take their shirts off. And I had to take my shirt off, and I didn't want to, and it was sad.
Yeah, but Sam, in fairness, once you hear the hypnotic sounds of
Hey, Pabst Blue Ribbon! Here we go.
Pabst Blue Ribbon! Fuck that! Strong bow, dark fruit!
Then the next morning, it turned out someone had taken a shit in the shower, and I think I was the prime suspect, but it wasn't me. So there you go. That was my house party experience.
One time, the stars of in Ireland on TV called showed up to a house party with some bands that I was friends with in Galway, and everyone was like, oh, quite impressed because they were a little bit like celebrities. And slowly as the night progressed, everyone realised that it was not a nice time. And one of them took a bit of a shine to me, and he was horrible. And I've not forgotten about you, big wink. Huh? How about that? Here we are now, 12 years later, talking about it. Jesus, now.
There we go. So, did that person spontaneously start lip-syncing with a bit of Roy Orbison into a microphone light?
No, that actually, now that you say it, sounds kind of nice. You know, that actually sounds like it's all... Because I love this song. I love Roy Orbison. I love this song. And not even this movie nor Alan Wake can ruin this song for me. It is impervious to being ruined.
Yeah. Oh, also, Dorothy is allowed to see her kidnapped child for a bit in the back room. And while that's happening, bit of a sing-along karaoke time. Hey, everything's all right in this horrible house party thing where there's definitely drugs going on.
You can just hear her in the background going, no, oh God, like there's something horrible has happened with the kids. Yeah. So the drugs have come from the murder that was committed. There was drugs that were there, and he's basically saying like he's got a connection where all the drugs from the crimes go to him, so he's just got loads of fucking drugs as well.
Mentions a guy called Gordon. Who's Gordon?
Gordon, huh? I like when he's offering a joyride with all the enthusiasm of like a late night Indian at like 2:30 in the morning. Joyride. You want anyone? No, a joyride? No, you get a joyride? No. We share a joyride. Come on. I don't want to be the only one having a joyride. I'll feel guilty.
They have a joyride.
And then they had weird shits the next day. No, it's a different.
This is after Frank has said, let's fuck. I'll fuck anything that moves. Ha 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 ha. Because he's cool.
Does that the bit where he disappears? He's like, and then he disappears and they're in the car. That's fucking horrible. Yeah. Don't do that. Don't disappear.
No. They're having this joyride. They're driving around. Jeffrey's there. Frank gets very annoyed that Jeffrey looks at him, and we kind of harken back to the thing before where don't look at him. He's got his special mask out again. He's breathing in, getting really sexually aggressive with Dorothy, being gross. Jeffrey finally says, I'd leave her alone, and punches Frank. Great, but it all kicks off in an unexpected way, in so much as Frank pops some lipstick on, kisses Jeffrey, calls everyone a fucker, and then talks about, I'll send you a love letter, and if I send you a love letter, you're dead.
A love letter is a bullet from a gun. A love letter means you're fucked forever. Replace that with mix CD, and you kind of see what the level of weirdness that you're dealing with here. My favourite part as well is where he's literally like, now feel my muscles. He has all these people to like massage different parts of his ego all at once. All I'll say, Sam, is the posse's doing some heavy lifting to get the man off. Like, if you need an entourage to get to that level, I don't know. Like, come on,
play the song. You dance over there. I'll get me some blue velvet. I'll put it in this guy's mouth, and then I'll start punching him, and then everything comes together.
Get me my special beer, or otherwise I can't do it.
I mean, Jeffrey gets beaten up, some blue velvet pushed into his face, wakes up all beaten up looking.
He gets overcome with this scene. Is like this is what Cal McLaughlin is more than just a pretty face here. You get to see just the subtlety of him, like just waking up and the realizing, like, that's one of the worst feelings in the world, when you wake up and like you're immediately hit with something, and it's like you don't even have the chance to kind of start the engines of the fucking motor of your brain or whatever, and you're just already like burdened like this. And he just starts crying, thinking specifically about her demanding that he hit her, and that he hit her. I think his experience he's had with Frank is kind of like, you don't want to be doing that, you know?
It's all, he's been quite clearly traumatized by a pretty fucked up few days. So he reveals, some of what's happened to Sandy, and Sandy's saying, right, you need to go to the police / my dad.
He literally said things may have gotten a little out of hand. Look at this stiff upper lip bullshit right here.
He goes to the police station. The yellow man is there. He works there. He's a detective. Oh, God. Jeffrey shows the detective, Sandy's dad, the picture he took of the yellow man doing dealings with Frank.
And can we just take a moment, life's full of small moments and small pleasures. And I'll tell you right now, handing over a dossier of anything is great.
Oh, I've never held a dossier in my life, and I'd love to.
Oh, my God.
Give someone a dossier.
Recently, I got from vis-a-vis Joe, vis-a-vis her dad, vis-a-vis his now dead mother. She had collected recipes into various folders, which were then passed on and passed on, and then sent over to me. And it was literally like, Kevin, there's something on your desk. I'm like, yes. And it's like, very good. It's awful recipes from the 70s in a big dossier. In like
a dossier.
And they're all in different shapes as well. There's some bits held together with newspaper tape, and there's elastic bands. And I'll tell you what, this year for Christmas, instead of a Christmas card, why not present your loved one with a Christmas dossier instead? I've gathered these festive notes and documents. Could be some all the receipts for the things that you got them that they'll probably want to return. A picture of a thing that you made.
When you said Christmas dossier, it actually sounds like a tasty dessert.
It does.
Like a dossier.
It would be Christmas dossiers. They come in a pack of 6 in a high-end supermarket. Little swirly bit on top. Is it a Viennese swirl? No, you fucking idiot. It's December. They call them Christmas dossiers, and they gussy them up a little bit. They put on a cherry to make it look like Rudolph. Now eat it.
Oh, I will have a Christmas dossier. Thank you very much. Bit cheeky, but it is Christmas. So we're at Sandy's house. It's all moving quite quickly.
There's several false finishes of like everything's back to normal because he's told the adults now and the adults know, and he's sworn he's going to stay away from all of it now. So he's just going to have a date with Sandy, and that's that.
Yes, they're going to a nice party. But look, they do go for a nice party, but the yellow man is there at the house before they go, being like, oh, hey, I'm here, looking creepy.
A scene which was paid homage to in Spider-Man Far From Home. And I like that the MCU and the DLU like to kind of coordinate themselves like that, you know? Keep it fresh.
These two lovebirds, they go off to a party, they say they love each other, they're dancing, they're doing some smooching, they leave, and they're being pursued by Frank?
They assume?
Question mark? But no, it's Mike. It's Sandy's boyfriend, we remember from the time we mentioned him.
I love that you only ever see him like once training, I think, and another time like it's this scene, and he's like, David Lynch will often do this where he'll shoot something kind of purposely like a little bit far away, and you'd think he's fucking Sandy's boyfriend, he stole his girl, like this guy's going to be central antagonistic character, and he's like such an accessory that's not like, it's like there's a different movie happening. They're like, sorry, there's a naked victim of abuse here, we need to quickly get in the car. The guy's like, sorry.
Although he does get a good line, which is, you stole my girl, you bastard. Now I'm going to kick your ass in front of your stupid house.
Oh, mate.
And look, this almost feels like a kind of teen movie romp situation. But before we can get too much like that, Dorothy is just naked and beat up in the front garden, all scared, and it's weird. And Mike, the boyfriend, is just like, shit, I'm sorry, I didn't realise we were in a David Lynch film. I'm gonna head off with these generic jocks, and I'm just gonna go home. I'm gonna leave you guys to it. I'm so sorry.
What accidentally has happened here is that he has connected his Twitter feed to his LinkedIn now, not realising he was already logged in, not in incognito mode, he was actually logged into the alt, and therefore now we have the two girlfriends. She's seeing the content, and what's going on here? She's saying that she loves him, and she's like naked and battered, and like it's obviously an overwhelming situation. It's fucking there you are now.
Yeah, Sandy's upset. I think she feels partially confused, partially like she's been betrayed by Jeffrey because he's been having this relationship thing with Dorothy,
and he hadn't even the decency to present himself up front as a bad boy. You know, if he was flicking a dime or had a toothpick and he was like, baby, I'm rolling into town because my dad's sick, you know, maybe okay, we can expect this behaviour, but no. She thought she was settling down with a white picket fence, nice, good, clean boy, and this is not the case.
No, drinking a Coke float, that kind of thing. Nah, none of that. He's weird.
He's not done that. What he's done is he's gotten your Coke float and he's actually whisked it up into a horrible froth of all bits.
And it's net tanned it, had the whole lot in one go, and they'd done a big burp. That's how Sandy feels.
It's the same, he says. It's not. That's how she feels.
But she does forgive him very soon after over the phone.
But this is just so weird, this bit. I don't think I realised how weird this bit. It's like my third or fourth time seeing the movie. And when she rings him up, like, and she accepts his apology, she's heartbroken. And like literally right by the apology, she says, where is my dream? Yeah, you're forgiven, by the way. Like, even though my dream is like lost in a fog of ethereal upset.
I kind of got a bit of whiplash from, like, you know, there's a controversy. Oh, Sandy's upset and she's heartbroken and it's sad. Oh, it's fine, I'm going to send my dad to Dorothy's apartment now so we can finish the film. Like, this bit ain't nothing. Okay? No controversy here. I mean, Jeffrey gets to Dorothy's apartment now, and we have the yellow man there with a walkie-talkie in his pocket, ringing in the jacket pocket, and his brains are kind of hanging out of his head. The kidnapped husband is dead, with his ear missing, tied up.
He's got blue velvet in his mouth as well, I'm pretty sure, so he's been killed.
Yeah. And Jeffrey walks into this, and it's just... It is that David Lynch. This is David Lynch, right? This is the kind of weird thing I was thinking. Just like stuff. I don't know.
The broadest kind of like interpretation-y type thing is like is right at the start, where it's like it's meant to be the kind of idyllic version of events. Like you see someone right at the start. Something we didn't mention is they're looking at the TV and you're seeing like lots of kind of violent stuff on TV, and it was kind of showing you like even though the violent stuff in this world seems like it's make-believe and it's all nice, it's actually kind of the other way around almost. And like the idea that he's literally like, right, now we're going to go off and save the husband and this is all, and the kid, and it's all going to be sorted, and then like, he shows up and like they've already done everything. Like it's this kind of brutal realism almost, isn't it, where it's like, well, why would you show up at the exact time? Like these guys are independently of you, have got fucking business to take care of and dealings with each other, and like showing up where like a guy is like dead and the other guy is like kind of dead and not dead. It's like so just like not like there's no way you're going into that room expecting that to happen, and I think that's kind of just fucking with you a bit at this point.
It all moves very quickly here. So the well-dressed man from before was Frank in a disguise. So he's coming up the stairs.
Just the phrase Frank in a disguise is really upsetting to me.
Frank in a disguise.
Yeah, like he's going to be hanging around somewhere dressed up like. Is that Dennis Hopper is dead, right?
Yes.
He's not going to show up as a Super Bowl commercial or something like that. Like him and Sarah Jessica Parker, and he's like huffing a fucking gas canister, and that's meant to sell subscriptions.
Look, I mean, if David Lynch gets holds of CG and deep fakes, I don't want to be part of that universe where he can bring back whoever he wants and do what he likes.
No, man. And you know what? I think Coachella has been through enough without that on night 3 on the main stage. Could you believe that? Welcome to the stage. A hologram of Dennis Hopper playing Frank from Blue Velvet. I'll fuck anything. No. Bring back Tupac. I'm sorry I made fun of it.
It's all moving extremely quickly. Jeffrey's got a police walkie-talkie. He's communicating with the detective, but he also remembers from somewhere, I can't remember this, that Frank has a police radio. So he lies about where he is. He says he's hiding in the back bedroom. Frank comes up. You got shit for brains, man. You forget I got a police radio. He goes into the back bedroom. He fucking fell for it. He got pranked, bro. Gassing himself up, running around with a gun. Comes out to the closet where Jeffrey's hiding, opens it up, and bam! Right between the eyes, Jeffrey just pops him. And Frank's gone.
I mean, I just thought that would have been the exact right moment to stage the intervention. You know, he opens up the door, then all the friends and family come in and go, you are on that gas, like, seriously, for fuck's sake, would you give it a rest now? Look at you now, all gassed up, running around, dressed up as a man with a moustache. You can't even grow a moustache, Dennis. What are you doing?
Stop it. Right.
Now, here's a question for you. When he got blammoed in the face, was that a fist-pumping, come on, get you some action? Was it a Cyrus the Virus? Was it a real, like, yeah, the baddie's gotten his?
No. It was like, there was relief. I think just this film has kind of, it sort of wore me down to the point where I wasn't in that zone of like, yeah, the baddie's gone. It was more just like, okay, the baddie's gone. I mean, good. That's good.
There are no solutions to life's problems is the main takeaway from tonight's piece.
We do kind of go into this whole thing where Jeffrey and Sandy have a smooch as the police turn up and sort everything out. The lighting goes really bright while they're smooching. Like the Robins have come and restored the light and made everything light again. We zoom out of Jeffrey's ear. You know, we went into the removed ear before. We now come back out, but the world's all better. He's in the garden. His dad's well again.
And the bloody robins are here as well, and they're eating that nasty old bug, and that fucking animatronic bird is one of the scariest goddamn things ever. I hate it so much. My absolute favourite moment of the movie, though, comes right at the end, where I think it's the aunt looks out the window, and she sees the bird, and she's like, I don't know how they do it. I could never eat a bug. And a nice slow bite there, which if you were planning on putting anything in your mouth, 30 minutes after this movie, you may want to rethink that.
And look, we get the fire engine man from the start waving. Everything's back into the picket fence mode.
Dorothy and a boy are reunited, even though we thought something had happened with the boy. No, it's okay. She's all right. Everything's fine. It is a purposely, like, cheap, spoiled, like, paper-thin ending almost. Like, and again, when I first saw the movie, I was like, all right, everything's back to normal then, I guess. But you're not meant to be like, oh, this is great. This is meant to be, like, wrong or whatever, you know? So,
yeah.
And I, you know what? I'm very, very, very amazed that you've been able to make it through in one piece. It is actually a lot more of an oppressive movie than I ever recalled. Because I thought it's the narratively easiest to follow, but I would actually say against Mulholland Drive and Eraserhead or other two, this is definitely the most, like, upfront in its violence, sexual and otherwise, and it's real, like, cranking that. You're meant to, like, a lot of time he wants you meant to think. It makes you feel unsettled. It feels like he wants you to be upset and, like, really upset at points in this movie and distressed and despondent. And those are all the feelings we've talked about. But where are you at with this? Have you actually enjoyed yourself? Here's a question, actually. Do you feel like now that you've been missing out all this time, you're part of the cool club now, you're going to pop on Twin Peaks log posting on Facebook and have at it with some hardcore Frasier references?
This is the thing. I don't feel like this has made me think, okay, I was wrong this whole time and now I really want to watch some more David Lynch content. Look, I don't really know how I feel. I felt weird. I think it's very good. I think it's a very good film.
Why do you think it's very good?
Because I want to impress the cool people.
Well, like, in my first instance of watching it, my narrative in my head was he could do no wrong. And then there was a point in time where I was watching it where it's like, no, he does all sorts of things wrong. And then a later point where it's like, he neither cares if he's doing it right or wrong by your perspective or otherwise. So it's kind of hard to classify it.
It's, yeah.
Like, I will tell you right now, having done this, and I was joking about it at the start, like, it's a way harder movie to talk about. And obviously it's by design.
Yeah.
Would you ever want to revisit something like this for Cinema Swirl? But I would say it couldn't be even in Cinema Swirl because it feels like this format doesn't even do it any sort of justice. I don't know.
It's one that I think would benefit from more analysis, I guess. I think there's a lot of things to talk about here.
And that's why people come to this podcast, for the fucking film analysis, you know?
Well, we're not those guys, you know? Those guys are out there. Those people are there talking
You're certainly aware that they're out there.
They're out there. I this is the first time where I feel like I'm a bit
bamboozled
lost for how I feel and what I think, really. It hasn't given me that big enthusiasm to go and watch a bunch of David Lynch stuff. I don't necessarily know whether I'm right or wrong in my preconceived notion. I never thought David Lynch was bad, and I don't think this is a bad film. I think...
Would you want to watch it again?
Not soon. Probably not for a while.
Would you want to watch any other David Lynch movie after this?
Maybe, yeah.
Why are you wanting to... Like, what are the things about this movie that made you curious? Because, I mean, you know, I told you I had my fucking, like... It's like literally a man came into my room with, like, there's a mystery to solve, and only you can do it, young 15-year-old boy who's just about getting bored with everything he's liking at the moment. You know, that's the greatest introduction to Lynch ever. It's like, hey, I'm going to fucking solve a mystery. But what was it about here? I mean, we were given a lot of oppressive shit. What was it that is going to lure you back?
It's interesting. I want to see more. I actually want to see more of Lynch's kind of fucking weirdness. I know this was weird, but this was like kind of abrasive. I think he's definitely got a sense of humour.
Oh,
and I remember from Twin Peaks that there's really funny stuff there. There's little bits of that in here, which is, I mean, a tough balancing act when you've got some of the content in this film. The characters, the quirkiness, the strangeness, the stiltedness. Frank as an awful bastard, horrible villain was compelling.
He comes around the other side. Like, it's the type of thing that if you wrote him down on paper, you're like, no, that's too much. It's too abrasive. Like, you can't have someone like that. Like, it's just too much. It'll get old, or it'll get like you don't want to get exhausted by something like that and not be afraid of it by the end of the movie. And yet, the moment you're most scared of him, I think, is literally the moment before he dies.
He's turned the volume right up to 11 and gone, fuck it, make it the worst villain. This was really interesting, and
I mean, I'm definitely glad that we've done it.
The music was great. Some of the visual ideas. It ticks boxes in the kind of media student part of my brain where I want to go back and look at it and be like, oh, why was this part of the set placed here? And what, you know, so it does appeal to me.
I think Mulholland Drive would be one that you'd probably enjoy a lot then, because That's got the kind of less of an abrasive presentation, because it is like, it is just simply that. Like, it's less abrasive, it's less like kind of up in your face, but it's more convoluted and more obtuse in terms of like the imagery, like what happens. Like, I would struggle to tell you what happens for most of Mulholland Drive. Again, you don't have to tell me if you know. You can be safe in the knowledge that you know, and that's enough.
I think maybe I actually went into this wanting things to get confusing or dreamlike or bizarre.
There were a few moments that happened, like in the ear, you liked that.
There is some of that.
Not enough for you in this go around?
Sometimes it got actually too real, is what I would say.
Right, yeah.
I don't know. I'm up for more surrealism. I can already feel that my opinion on this movie is going to shift and change over time.
I kind of feel like in a week's time, or the next episode at the start, I need to ask you, like, just out of interest, have you thought about it much?
I'm going to be thinking about it, and it feels like the star wipe rating is kind of the difficult. Like, I don't look. Whatever I say here,
it can easily be boiled down into a star wipe rating, is what you're saying. Yes. So and yes.
Whatever I say here, do not read too much into it. It's a star wipe rating. It's not a fucking David Lynch film. Am I right? It will shift and change.
Are there people you think will listen to this podcast and fast forward? Like, because I would always used to back in the day be like, I'd be on IGN, like, yeah, blah blah blah. Give me the score. Give me the red box, baby. Do you think that people fast forward right at the end to hear your rating and you go, whoop?
With a great deal of like love and respect to our listeners, the idea that my star wipe rating means anything is hilarious to me. Like, it's very funny.
And as we all know, we've always had a firm grip on the concept of that star wipe rating as well. Very firm. 2 hands on it,
We know exactly where we are. It's a real important, comprehensive grading system that we've got for films here. Ask me the question.
Sam, what is your star wipe rating for Blue Velvet?
I'm not sure, so therefore 3 star wipes.
You heard it here first.
Whey! Thanks for listening to another episode of Cinema Swirl. This episode was produced by Kevin, edited by me, Sam, and hey, I also did the music. If you're after more Swirl content, or you want to support the show, or better yet, both, patreon.com/CinemaSwirl is the place to go. On the socials, we are at CinemaSwirl on Twitter, and our Facebook is facebook.com/CinemaSwirl, which is also where our votes for episodes take place. If you've got anything for the mailbag, then send it on over to cinemaswirl@gmail.com. That's cinemaswirl@gmail.com. Please do keep recommending the show to your friends, leaving reviews on whatever podcast thing you use. It all helps us out. Thank you so much. Alright, see you next time.